Hey guys, it is NCS Fan 001 here for another one of those weekly trophy list updates. Today's date is Monday, January 22nd, 2024. So this will have covered the week of January the 15th through the 21st of 2024. So this was a reasonably productive week overall. I don't have any major complaints, at least on the trophy progress made. So I will also say that we are completely done with streaming the Thrillville games. I had a lot of fun streaming through both of them, but it is now 100% complete. So the only time you guys might ever see it again is if maybe me and Lizard Guy did a video or stream of it at some future point is a possibility, but that's about it. So in terms of actual trophy progress made this week, we start out with Marvel's Spider-Man 2 Platinum has been achieved. So this Platinum Trophy is, of course, pretty easy, and it doesn't take too long, like probably 25, maybe 30 hours. I would put it at about a 3 out of 10 if you're playing the game on the Amazing difficulty. If you were playing it on the super easy, like Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man difficulty, or whatever the other low difficulty is, it's probably like a 2 out of 10 and could probably be done a little bit faster. And then if you were playing on Spectacular, I'm sure it gets quite a bit harder. But for the most part on Amazing, it wasn't too difficult. There were only a handful of trickier sections, like a few of the boss fights mostly, especially. We all know that there's one particular boss fight that everyone can pretty much agree on is one of, if not the hardest part of the game on those higher difficulties, but I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who hasn't played yet. So for the Platinum Trophy, you have to 100% complete all the districts, just like in the other Spider-Man games. Basically, this means going around completing all of the different types of side missions, which fall into different categories: enemy bases, collectible items, photographs, all that kind of stuff. Pretty much your typical open world type of trophy set. There's not a ton of activities to do in this game. There's a lot of districts, but there's not like a major insane amount of stuff you have to do. So it doesn't get particularly repetitive or really even all that grindy for the most part, which is really, really nice. Because like I said, you can get the platinum in like 25 to 30 hours, so it's not a particularly long game overall, just 100% it. Finish the main story is like 31 story missions. Just finish all of them on any difficulty. You get this trophy. Purchasing all of the gadget upgrades and suits just require you to have tech parts and certain tokens. Neither one is particularly hard, but they do take a large portion of the game to get through. Then grand finale is the Mysteriums. There are 10 of these, and then there's like a final mission you have to do afterward. These are basically little combat arena challenges, but you just have to get a bronze medal on each of them to count them as completed. You do not have to get a gold medal. I did drop the difficulty just so I could go get a couple of the gold medals, because maybe 3 of them I just could not get on the Amazing difficulty. Maybe I could have if I kept trying at it, but I figured why not drop at least just for those few things. Then reach the max level is 60. You should get there around the time you finish the main story, get pretty close to that 100%, so nothing much to worry about with that. Target identified, this is related to those bird drones that fly around. It's a little bit of a later game, well, not necessarily a later game activity, but it's these giant drones that'll fly around and you have to chase them down and then catch them and then finish like one final mission with that. This is for completing all of the Flame missions, which is presumably going to lead into one of the DLCs for this game. This is an event that you can't do until pretty late in the game. There's maybe 10 or 11 symbiote nests, and they're basically like enemy bases almost, but they're a little bit tougher because it's a lot of the symbiote enemies, a lot of them coming at you at once. This is for finishing all of the Merrick or Mark, whatever his name is, memories, which are basically just short little combat sequences where you fight a bunch of like sand creatures. And it's pretty straightforward. This is for completing, I think, all of the Prowler missions, or it might be something else. It may not be the Prowler missions, it might be something else, so it might actually be a story trophy now that I look back at it. Then this one is a story-related trophy. It's unmissable. Okay, so yeah, these were both probably story-related trophies. Yeah, that looks right. They're just story-related trophies. Hunter bases, there's like 11 smaller ones that you have to take out, and there's 3 or 4 bigger ones. They're just big enemy bases, just nothing new to that. They're just like the Fisk hideouts in the first game. The Friendly Neighborhood Spider requests are a type of side quest. There are 6 total. They give you more of a look at the city life and stuff like that, and some old characters. This is another story mission. This one is fairly straightforward, but just try to knock it out earlier on in the game. Just you have to use Symbiote Surge, which I believe is a Peter ability, and then while you're in the middle of a Symbiote Surge, use one of your Symbiote abilities during it, or multiple if you can, if they're all charged. Not too difficult, but just might take a little bit of grinding if you don't really do it throughout the course of the game. There are 9 EMF experiments. The last one does not become available until you finish the main story of the game, so keep that in mind. Then you have your 2 combat-specific trophies, the first one for Miles and the second one for Peter. Neither one is particularly hard, but the Evolved Venom one did take a little bit longer because I guess I didn't use them as much as I used the Spider Arm abilities. They're both easy though, and you can still farm stuff after the conclusion of the main story, so don't worry. Another store-related trophy here, and then you have to purchase all of the suit tech upgrades, so this has to do with like your speed, your traversal, your focus, your damage, your health, all that kind of stuff. Just once again, it just takes a lot of tech parts and everything. This is a specific side mission line related to the school that Miles attends, so there's like 4 or 5 side missions for this. This one is a side mission. I think it was part of the Friendly Neighborhood Spider requests, if I remember correctly. This is another story trophy. This one is a collectible type. There's like 40 or so of the spider bots hanging around throughout the world, and you have to collect all of them. This is the only collectible where you might want to have a guide for because they don't show up on the map like everything else does. So if you get stuck on this, feel free to check out a guide because a few of them are in kind of obscure places, sometimes like hanging out way in the middle of the air, like in the middle of nowhere. Equip any different suit style is pretty straightforward. Then this one, please try to knock this one out while you are doing the main story and the enemy bases. It gets a lot harder if you have finished everything in the game and you only have symbiotes left. It's a whole lot harder then, because it only works against human enemies, so because of that, you don't really get a whole lot of human enemies once you finish the main story and finish all the other side content. So just really, really try to knock this one out as early as possible. It will make your life easier. It's still doable after the game's over, but it's going to be a lot more difficult and a lot more grindy and time-consuming. This one is pretty straightforward. Just keep swinging back and forth between buildings while performing air tricks. This one is pretty much unmissable because it's a pretty strong ability. It's Miles' L3-R3 ability. Then this one is just a location-specific trophy, as are these next 2, so these are all just location-specific. The running around the bases can be done as either character. This one you have to play as Miles, which I didn't read that part of the trophy and got confused when I couldn't unlock it as Peter. And then visit Aunt May's grave while playing as Peter. Once again, you can do all this even after you finish the main story, because despite the way the story ends, you can still play as Peter during your infinite free roam afterward. This one, you're going to need to have your web wings pretty heavily upgraded to have any real shot at, because it is quite a bit of a flight. So this one may take a couple of tries, but just watch a couple of videos to make sure you get the path down and you shouldn't have too many problems. This one, swing between buildings, try doing a stunt, but keep holding the stunt button down, and when you splat into the ground, you will get this trophy. Helping Howard is one of the Friendly Neighborhood Spider requests. Then the 10,000 tech parts is just cumulative throughout the game. You don't have to have 10,000 on you at once. Tech stashes are the Prowler stashes, so the Prowler side quest line, they're just a little bit harder to find than other tech stashes throughout the world. There are other tech stashes that you can find constantly, like the blue ones for tech parts and the yellow ones for tokens, but those do not count. This one is specifically for the Prowler stuff. And this is the very first story mission of the game, so this should be the first trophy you unlock. Then you have to complete all the photo ops. There's about 30-something of these throughout the game. They're all pretty easy, except there was maybe one that took me a little bit of effort to figure out, but for the most part, they're pretty easy. Then for this one, you don't get the anti-venom suit until very late in the game. So once you get it, you can then use different anti-venom powers, and when you use them, you just have to defeat a symbiote while they're being affected by it. So just keep in mind you can't do this one until very late in the main story. And then the black suit is another story-related trophy that you'll get fairly early on. So, very highly enjoyable game overall. Definitely had a good time with it. Never really outstayed its welcome or anything like that. The game is going to have DLC. We know 100% for a fact that we're getting a New Game Plus mode, which will have a new trophy for beating it in New Game Plus. But we don't know yet if we're going to get like an ultimate difficulty trophy that you can do on New Game Plus. And I'm assuming that we're going to get at least 1 or 2 like actual story DLCs like we did with the original. Probably 3 again if I had to take a guess, because I'm sure that at least one of them will follow the flame, because that quest line or that sort of storyline is not, it's ended on a cliffhanger. So we can expect more Spider-Man 2 throughout the year. Then we have Word Search by Palgi. This is the North American PS4 version. It's been quite a while since I've done a Palgi game. Let's look back and see if I can find the last one I did. Okay, last one I did was Word Breaker, which was back in October. So it's been about 3 months since I did one, so maybe not as far back as I thought. The difference with Word Search is that it is by far the most time-consuming Palgi game. Most of them are doable in under 2 hours. A lot of them are doable in under an hour or even in like half an hour. This one takes 8 to 10 hours. It's much, much longer because you have to solve every single word search, and there's 384 of them. So you can solve them in just a couple of minutes each if you're following a guide, but it is a lot of puzzles that you have to solve, so this game just does take quite a bit longer. I did one version of it many years ago, actually. This is just a game to play casually whenever I have some free time and don't want to work on the other major trophy games or anything else, so it's just something I can work on over time. Finish like 1 or 2 sets of puzzles a day. We'll have it done within another week or two, just playing it very casually. To solve any one puzzle is, of course, the first trophy you'll probably get, or one of the first trophies. Highlight any word backwards, so just look at a guide like the one on PowerPix, his website for all these particular Palgi games, and you can find a solution there, or just highlight any of the words backwards from looking at the solutions. Then you have to solve every puzzle in every category. That's where you're going to get a vast majority of your trophies, because there's something like 30-ish categories of puzzles. And then you have a few other, not necessarily puzzle-specific trophies, but ones that you can do on any puzzle. Just make sure you are aware of these trophies. So pick up all the diagonal words in a grid first is pretty straightforward. Just select all the diagonal ones before you select anything else. Then for this one, you have to just go straight down the list because the list of words is already alphabetical. So just go straight down the list and you'll get this trophy. I just realized that this game doesn't have an inappropriate word trophy like almost all the Palgi games do. Interesting. This one's a little bit more, I guess, complicated because you have to look at the puzzle, look at the list of words, and solve the shortest ones first. If there's 2 words that are the same number of letters, you can do either of those first versus the other one second. It doesn't matter, just as long as you finish all of like the 4-letter words before you do all the 5-letter words and so on. And then finally, you just have to replay a puzzle and beat your best time. I would recommend trying to solve 1 or 2 puzzles legitimately. And once you get your time on those puzzles, which might be like 5 to 10 minutes, just pull up a guide and immediately just solve the puzzle within 1 to 2 minutes, and you'll easily knock out this trophy. So again, nothing difficult with the game. It's just very, very time consuming because there's so many puzzles you have to solve. Next up, Dead Rising 2 on the PS4. Like I mentioned previously, I'm going to try to platinum all of the good Dead Rising games that are on PS4, so again, excluding Dead Rising 4 because I don't care about that one. So Dead Rising 2 is probably the medium difficulty Dead Rising game. It's one of the most time-consuming out of all of them, though, and it has by far the most multiplayer, which is why I want to get it done first. So you have your typical zombie kill trophies, however, these have to be done in a single playthrough. This is going to be a playthrough spamming trophy that I get probably last or near last, because it is a very tedious trophy to say the least, because 72,000 is a lot. Though it is made easier, there's a certain method you can use. The easier way to do it is to complete all of the case files while also working on the zombie kills. It breaks up the repetitive, tedious nature of grinding kills, and it gives you way, way more in-game time to get kills. Defeat 5 and 10 psychopaths. I think you have to do this in the course of a single playthrough, but both of these I should be able to unlock on my first playthrough because I remember the game well enough. This one, you have to get like a certain move and you want to use certain skill magazines to make it easier. This one is very easy. You'll probably get it while going for the 72,000 kills trophy, or if not, it's fairly easy to grind out otherwise. It just has to be done in a single playthrough. I think it does have to be done in a single playthrough. This one, I don't know if this one has to be done in a single playthrough, but I guess we'll find out later on. Then you have to use every type of weapon on a zombie. You don't have to kill the zombie with the weapon, you just have to use the weapon against them. And there's well over 100 different items that count as weapons throughout the game. There aren't very many firearms, but there's a ton of melee weapons, quite a few ranged weapons. There's not very many explosives, there's a fair number of novelty weapons. So lots and lots of weapons to use throughout the game. You have to escort any 8 survivors at once. This is the most you can have with you at any given time because it's the most the game will spawn. There are certain ways to pretty much guarantee that you do this, but if you just play through the game normally, you might just get it naturally. Then you have to save survivors. You have to save a total of 50 survivors. There's over 60 of them total throughout the game. Again, I'm not sure if this has to be done in a single playthrough or not. If it does, that's totally fine. I can do a quick second playthrough of it if I have to at some point. Because this is going to take at least 3 full playthroughs to get the platinum, because there's a co-op playthrough and then the 72,000 kill trophy and probably another playthrough just to clean up all the other miscellaneous crap. You have to create a combo weapon and create all combo weapons, and most of these other trophies, though, do carry over between playthroughs, including creating all the combo weapons. There's 50 total, but like I said, it carries over between playthroughs, so nothing much to worry about. Just keep like a checklist for yourself. Reach the maximum level of 50. You might get this during your initial playthrough, but you can always go basically do a New Game Plus to work on all of your other miscellaneous trophies, and you'll easily get it there. Change into all the different pieces of clothing in the game. Again, this one carries over between playthroughs. There's tons and tons of clothing. The Facts is the main story of the game for completing all of the case files. Nothing too difficult with that. Just remember that the game is on that timer system, so you have to be a little bit careful. Mix any drink and create and consume all of the mixed drinks. There's 9 total. They're all pretty easy to make. Every type of food in the game, there's maybe 100 or so of these. The 1,000 special zombies are the gas zombies that you'll encounter very late in the game, like once you get to either case file 6 or 7, so real near the end. Then you have to give Katie all of the gifts in the game. There's about 10 of them. 2 of them are highly missable. One of them is Snowflake the tiger that you have to tame early in the game. And the other one is the funny painting that you get in like day 2 or 3. And these trophies do have to be done in a single playthrough, so just keep that in mind. It's one of the few that you have to do in a single playthrough. Overtime mode is the extra game mode that you get by administering a Zombrex to a certain character very late in the main story. So then you just have to finish the overtime mode, which adds more time to the game, and it can allow you to easily get the remainder of the 72,000 kills if you still need it. Then you have to do your co-op trophies. You have to solve all case files in co-op mode, so beat the main story. I don't think you have to do overtime. I think you just have to beat the main story to get this trophy, and then you also have to revive your partner, which is very straightforward. Just use a food item to revive them. Spend $6 million in Fortune City. I think this can be done over the course of multiple playthroughs, but once you have the $6 million, you can go blow it all very, very quickly on like the Humvee key or the SUV, whatever you want to call it, and on the Knight armor, so it's pretty easy to do. Then you have to enter all the stores in the game, of which, again, there's like over 50 to 100 of them, but this can be done over multiple playthroughs. 10 zombies with masks on at once. This one's a little bit finicky because sometimes they'll knock them away. The Zombrex posters, there's about 30 of these. I'm not sure if this has to be done in a single playthrough, but I'm sure I will just do it that way. Then you have your actual online trophies, the Terror is Reality mode, and these are the trophies that I'm most worried about, because that mode requires 4 people, I'm pretty sure, to even start, and the servers are not the best, so that's why I just want to get all of this stuff knocked out as soon as possible. The trophies, if you can actually get with your full boosting group, the trophies are easy. They would just take some time, like a few hours probably per person, or probably just a few hours total, depending on what events you get. You have to paint your bike, which is pretty straightforward. You just have to do the Leon mission to make sure you unlock it. Then you have to get all of the combo cards throughout the game. Again, there are 50 total of them, including at least 1 or 2 really difficult or secret ones. All the entries in the notebook, this is done over the course of the playthrough, and it can be done over the course of multiple playthroughs, so nothing to worry about there. The smashing one, I think, has to be done in a single playthrough, but it's relatively easy once you get the move unlocked. This one, you have to stick up a zombie with 4 different items, so like a pole and a painting and something over their head and something else. This is done very early in the game. Snowflake is a psychopath you can tame by feeding it steak. And then finally, you have to get the secret combo card, which I want to say is a queen and one of the mixed drinks combined, so it's kind of a weird combination. So we've started making progress on the game. This is going to be one that goes on over the course of several weeks to months, depending on how streaming works out, which I'll talk about in the update portion at the end of the video. And then we have Star Wars Republic Commando. I earned all the trophies in this game in a little bit over 2 days. This is a squad-based tactical first-person shooter, except that for maybe a fifth of the game, you don't even have a squad, which is rather annoying and makes some parts of the game more difficult. The game isn't particularly difficult overall, but it is a product of its age. It doesn't always control the best. The control scheme is weird unless you change it. And the AI especially can be a little bit questionable at times with what they do. They will get stuck on things sometimes. Not to mention you die very, very quickly in the game, and sometimes you'll just get shot through walls and stuff or by your own team, which is always a pleasure to have that happen, and it ruins your progress. But one really nice thing about this game is that you can make a quick save whenever you want by hitting the touchpad. So you can literally quick save after every single enemy encounter, so you'll never be set back very far if you do end up dying. So we start out with an unmissable story trophy. This is one of the first trophies you'll get right at the beginning of the game. You have to revive any one squad member, which will probably happen many, many times throughout the course of the game. Then you have to complete the main story. The game is broken up into 3 different campaigns. Geonosis, which is the shortest and easiest. Kashyyyk is the hardest and longest one. And then RAS Prosecutor is the middle one, which is like medium time and medium difficulty overall. This is the one where you're going to be solo a lot of the time, unfortunately. So just, you have to complete all the different campaign missions. There's nothing really special about that, but you do have to play on hard. I'll talk about the difficulties when we get to that later. You have to collect all of the enemy weapons and then equip them. You don't have to get a kill with each of them. There's only 5, though. There is a shotgun that you'll get during the RAS Prosecutor, or whatever it's called. Is it RAS? Yeah, Prosecutor. There's one there. There's a heavy machine gun you'll get during that chapter as well. There is the Geonosian beam weapon, and then there's like 2 other ones that you get later on in the game. Then you have to get 100 total melee kills. This isn't particularly hard, but you might not get it naturally unless you're really trying to farm it. Because, yes, melee is actually very effective in this game, but when you're playing on hard and you die so quickly, you might want to be a little bit more careful. But it can easily be cleaned up on a playthrough of a level on the easiest difficulty afterward. This is an unmissable story trophy you'll get after a few missions, like sometime maybe on Geonosis I think you'll get it. Then slice into a console. It can be either you or one of your teammates that does it. This is unmissable. The visor cleaning is unmissable. It'll just happen randomly throughout the course of your playthrough many, many times. Then you have to get 5 kills with a single thermal detonator. I got this one very near the end of the game on like the very last mission when there were a group of 6 or 7. No, and I think it was either 5 or 6 of the regular droids, and I was able to get it there. But there's other places you can do it, and I'll show one in a second. The scavenger droids will start spawning in during the RAS Prosecutor missions, and they're really, really annoying because they'll kill you really quickly on hard. But if one of them launches at you, it'll try to grapple onto your face, and you can just melee it off. Then you have to blow up 10 demolition charges. This one's unmissable while playing through the game. You'll be planting far more than that throughout it. Get revived at any given time, so go down and request a revive. It's that simple. You'll have this happen many times as well. You have to beat the game on easy, medium, and hard. Now, thankfully, the difficulty trophies stack, so just one playthrough on hard will satisfy all 3 trophies. Beating the game on hard, again, is not, the hardest game out there because of that quick save feature and being able to revive each other and all, but it does have some punishing areas, several difficulty spike areas, especially when you're either playing solo or some of the later missions on Kashyyyk can be pretty tough as well. So just be ready for at least a few frustrating parts, but the game isn't too long overall, which is kind of nice. Also, make sure that as soon as you load into the main menu, before you select new game for the very first time, go down to the options and make absolutely sure that you change your difficulty to hard while you're on that menu so that you don't risk this trophy screwing up and not unlocking. This can only be done in one mission. It's done in the very last mission of RAS Prosecutor, at the very end of it when you get to Hangar D. I actually missed it on my first playthrough because I think I just had a squad mate get in instead without realizing that that's what the trophy was. So this one actually is missable, so be careful of that so you don't have to replay the mission. Then issue all squad commands, just hold triangle and then each directional pad for this one. Then 10 enemies with the gunship turret. This can only be done across the Geonosis campaign, but there's multiple opportunities for it. This is done early on in the Geonosis campaign. There's a bunch of eggs you have to destroy, so definitely look at a video to make sure you don't miss any of them. This one is most easily done by telling a trooper to go to one of the Bacta tanks, the healing droids, whatever you want to call it, and immediately hitting triangle to cancel the command. That's how you should unlock it. Then this is a level-specific trophy. You'll get this one somewhere fairly early on in RAS Prosecutor. It's inside of a vent somewhere that makes it a little bit easier to get through an area. So you just might want to have a video pulled up for that one as well, because there is chapter select, but it's not 100% chapter select. Like, each campaign is divided up into several missions, but each mission is divided up into several more missions, but you can only select that middle mission tier, not that lower mission tier of like each individual little segment of the game. For this one, just blow yourself up. Just use thermal detonators or blow up an explosive device while you're standing next to it. Blow up 10 total throughout the game, pretty much unmissable because they're very strong. 2 story-related trophies here. You'll get both of these on Geonosis. This one is most easily done either at the very end of Geonosis or sometime during RAS Prosecutor, but I think it's during Geonosis at the very end. And that's also a great place to get the 5 kills with a single thermal detonator. For this one, just melee a few of the regular battle droids until you manage to knock one's head off with your melee, and you'll get this trophy very easy. This is in that very, very last RAS Prosecutor mission at just before you do the whole Walker trophy, so pretty easy. Just, it's tucked away in Hangar C, I believe. And then the last trophy here, this one I did not get naturally while playing through on hard, even though I thought I would. So surprisingly did not get this one naturally, but it's pretty straightforward, but I think it might be bugged because it took like 15 to 20 downs for it to count, or maybe it was because I used a reset at one point. I don't know what it was, but it took well over 10 for me to get it, but it's still a very straightforward trophy. Just make sure, see if you can get it naturally by playing through the game, and if you don't, then just go back to any mission and farm it. Simple as that. So I've actually already synced up my trophies like 25 minutes ago now when I finished up Star Wars Republic Commando, so we can just go ahead and hit the square button for level 857, 4%, 27,616 total trophies, 787 platinums, 5,204 golds, 7,387 silvers, 14,238 bronzes. So, plans for the upcoming week. I'm going to continue working on Word Search by Palgi and hopefully get it done this week. And the other major focus is, of course, Dead Rising 2. However, it's a stream series, and while I could go ahead and, do the Terror is Reality stuff, knock that crap out, and just try to get it done as early as possible, just because it's true multiplayer, I'm not going to stream the multiplayer trophies because I've had problems with recording multiplayer stuff before, so I'm just going to do that on my own, but I'll try to make sure to catch all of the trophies unlocking. But the problem is, as you guys might have seen on Saturday, I tried to stream part 2 of Dead Rising 2, and my stream just would not work because it looks like Spectrum has broken my internet yet again. This happens literally every 6 freaking months at this point, and it's really starting to piss me off. Because literally like every 6 months now, I'll go into a time period where I can no longer stream things because Spectrum starts throttling my internet or intentionally breaks something that helps with the internet. I don't know exactly what it is. And then they have to come out and fix things, which can take sometimes over a week. It's just ridiculous. Like, what the hell do those people do all day? Do they just sit there with their thumb up their ass all day or something? Except for, like, the linemen. But no, I think the linemen would be, like, Duke Energy or whoever provides energy around here. Yeah, Duke Energy. So I don't think it's Spectrum that puts up the lines. If they do, then they're the only people at that company that actually do anything. So I run into this problem constantly. It really, really pisses me off that it keeps happening. So I'll probably do like one more short test stream. That'll probably be a private stream though, just to test and see if things start working again. Maybe it was just a one-day thing, but I think I'm getting throttled or something's broken again. So most likely I will have to put in a ticket with them, which may very well take them over a week to get. So I honestly don't know exactly when the next stream will be, but they better freaking fix it soon because usually the pattern is I tweet about it, they say, oh, give us the customer information and whatnot from their Ask Spectrum tweet bot or whatever it is, and we'll figure out what the problem is. I will do that. They will say, sorry, there's nothing wrong or nothing we can do for you. So then I just have to go either to the company itself, like in person, or I have to actually go above them to either like the FCC or to the Better Business Bureau, and then mysteriously they find the time to find something wrong and fix it. So real mysterious there what they're doing. Come on now, we're not stupid out here. And I'm sure they're not the only provider that does that, but it's just really getting really, really annoying because it happens so often. So once I can get the streaming stuff fixed, we will be able to stream Dead Rising 2 again. but I don't know exactly when that's going to happen, so it might be more video focused for the next week or so. The Fallout Georgia video, though, is almost done. It was almost ready at one point earlier on, like last week, but then I looked into it and I saw a couple of things that I kind of wanted to change and add on to, so not quite done yet, but it'll be out by the end of this week most likely, unless something goes wrong. I am sounding very nasally, so I hope I'm not coming down with something, given the amount of stuff I'm exposed to every day. It's a miracle it hasn't happened any other time recently, so we will see what ends up happening with that. And, of course, there's all the workplace drama that I talk about on streams, just of, you know, again, when your boss tells you that it's time for everyone to probably start looking for another better job, it ruffles some feathers, you know. Just I talk about that a lot more in streams, though, going more in depth for it on actual streams. So that's really the plans for right now. It's probably going to be videos this week, so I don't know when I'm going to be able to get all this issue fixed. Hopefully soon, though. Otherwise, though, Fallout 76 is re-downloaded because me and another guy are working on like a big comprehensive trophy guide for the game and all the DLCs and a walkthrough and everything. So working on that some as well. Probably be playing it a little bit. And yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of trophy games for the rest of the month. It's really just Dead Rising 2 and Palgi for right now. And then February would be the other Dead Rising games, or at least one of those. And then all the other games beyond that. So, you know, your GTA 5, Shadow of the Colossus, all that kind of stuff. I will say, if you have Far Cry 4 on your list, the Renaissance Man trophy has actually been fixed, but the Community Surprise trophy is still broken. So just keep that in mind if you care about the Far Cry trophy list. Far Cry 2 is still down, though, and it's been a full year now, so it's probably not coming back if I had to take a guess. And in terms of DLC and such that we're expecting, I think that Spider-Man was supposed to come out this month, but I guess it got pushed back or something, so that'll be sometime soon. And then March is the next Fallout 76 DLC. It's the second half of the Atlantic City expedition, so we'll see what happens with that. But I assume it will have trophies of some kind. So, yeah, that is going to be it for this update, guys. Managed to drag this one out pretty far. I mean, there was a lot of stuff to talk about, so that's always good. So, like I said, schedule for this week is very much up in the air based on, you know, when/if they decide to fix my internet again. Well, they're gonna fix it. It's just a question of how long. But we will see about all of that. I can still upload videos, though, but just streaming is a little bit up in the air until I get that fixed. So, thank you guys for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and let me know in the comments if you've gotten screwed over by your ISP before with throttling or just your technology mysteriously stopping working at times. And also let me know what kind of progress you've made on your trophies this week. So, thank you all for watching. See you back here later this week for some more content.